Hola, I am Ephfive, and this is a Scrappy review of Shadows over Camelot from Days of Wonder. Shadows over Camelot is a semi-cooperative damage control game set in the days of King Arthur. It's about a decade old now. It can be played by 3 to 7 players. It takes about an hour to an hour and a half, and I hate this game. But I'll get to that part after I explain the core theme and mechanics. Players are the Knights of the Round Table, tasked with snuffing out evil throughout the land while completing various noble quests. But beware, for a traitor might be hidden among the knights, intending to sabotage the Round Table's efforts. The actual gameplay isn't nearly that interesting. On a player's turn, he or she simply does one bad thing, then does one good thing, and play moves on to the next player. However, bad things generally work out to almost exactly the same degree of impact on the game as the good things do. This means that in many cases, a player's entire turn is spent having a net zero impact on the game. You might get closer to finding the Grail, but lose progress towards gaining Excalibur. And then, all too often, on another player's turn, the exact opposite will happen. I call Shadows over Camelot a damage control game because, regardless of the actual structure of play, the ultimate focus is on minimizing the negative effects the game shoves in front of you, while maximizing your own impact on progress. This is a very tough category in which to make a balanced game. Too easy, and players with the least bit of experience roll over the game like a rugby team entering the Puppy Bowl. Too hard, and no amount of experience stops the game from feeling like you volunteered to get punched in the face for an hour or two. Even well-balanced damage control games regularly have outlier playthroughs with foregone conclusions for or against the players, neither of which is generally fun. But what it all comes down to is that the effect of a single player's turn is so incremental that the game just drags on, seemingly forever, especially when each player has to wait through 4, 5, or 6 other player turns. Get this, just moving to a location, not even doing anything there, takes up an entire turn. So does discarding 3 cards to heal 1 health point, as if giving up the cards wasn't enough already. Even the simplest efforts get spanned over multiple turns. Take a different damage control game like Pandemic, where disease spreads 2, 3, or 4 times per player turn, but players take 4 actions and draw 2 cards per turn. The net effect of each player's turn is similarly minimal, but more happens in generally less time. Players are also more capable of reading and responding to trends when events happen in sets. The possible existence of one player hell-bent on preventing everyone else from winning introduces an element of chaos that does little more than sow discontent among the players as the game wears on. It is a similarly unbalanced factor, as crappy traders are quickly sussed out or prevented from sabotaging anything, and really good traders might as well flip the board from the get-go rather than forcing the other players to take the beating they are about to receive. I think the reason Shadows over Camelot is looked upon so well is that it was a breath of fresh air to many upon their first play. It was without a doubt a very innovative game, introducing the betrayer mechanic, cooperative play, non-symmetrical player powers, and that ever-present Days of Wonder quality of components completely absent from many mass-marketed games even now. But then, the 1980s cell phone was wildly innovative at the time it came to market too. I consider Shadows over Camelot to be the weakest game of all those I've played from Days of Wonder, and it is possible I'm harder on it than it might deserve because it took the setting of the once and future king and did nothing interesting with it. The cards may be shiny, but they offer nothing remotely thematic in tone or utility. The exact same system could be laid over a game in which family members venture into different rooms of the house to perform gratuitous and tedious chores, none of which is particularly unique, let alone interesting. Compare it to something more recent like Dead of Winter. Dead of Winter has some baggage, but ultimately provides a robust thematic experience that could hardly be anything but community infighting during the zombie apocalypse. What's really unfortunate is that we'll probably never see a truly modernized version of this game, which I would be more than willing to give a chance. Instead, it goes the way of Catan, Titan, Puerto Rico, Dominion, Race for the Galaxy, Descent, and Imperial as games I appreciated at one point, but now consider mechanically outdated. Can I go back and play some of these games and still enjoy them? No. There is certainly a degree of consideration to be given based on the group involved. When approached more as a deception and negotiation game, a group can come out of it with some interesting stories, but that isn't enough to redeem the game for me. Without a solid core, there's not that much to build upon. My first game of Shadows over Camelot, I won, as King Arthur, as the betrayer. It should have been an interesting story, one in which the entire round table lost to the Mad King, but instead it felt like a by-the-numbers exercise in document sorting. If you love this game, I'm not going to change your mind, and I certainly can't be one to judge. I love plenty of games that others find lacking. Just don't be surprised if you ask me to play, and I suggest something like a 6-week course on elephant castration as a fun alternative instead, because that would be more fun.